Welcome to another episode of Ex-Vicarious. I'm Braith, and today I'm joined by Jimmy Sun. He's a founder and CEO of Gleem, an energy drink with Asian-inspired flavors designed to boost your mood, energy, focus, and immunity. What really interested me, though, was that his business journey started when he was just 14, and he achieved seven figures in sales after just 1 year of founding TCG Stadium, an online retail store he founded at 17 years old. Alright, so I spent a lot of sleepless nights thinking, how do I become the best version of myself and leave my mark on the world? To answer this, I decided to ask exceptional people who have or are on the journey of doing just that. When you have big dreams, it's easy to just fantasize about them and live vicariously through your idols. But that's not how I want to live. So if you feel the same way, this podcast will show you how to make your dreams look more like goals by showing you how founders, creators, and game changers did it. You'll learn about their habits, mindsets, and strategies so you can stop dreaming and start dream making. I'm Braith, and this is ex-vicarious. So I got plenty of questions, and I just want to jump right in. Jimmy, how are you going today?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure being on here. So I thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's awesome to speak to you from across the world, and happy we found the time now. So, yeah, just after reading that you started your business journey at 14, just wondered like what actually sparked you to start at such an early age, and were there any books, podcasts, or people that inspired you to start that journey?
Yeah, I think I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. My parents actually immigrated here to the States during like the 80s. My mom's from Korea and then my dad was from China. And so they actually met here in the States when they were like in their 20s and they ended up starting like multiple businesses. They did some like clothing and stuff like that, but like they ended up sticking with, and most of those didn't really work out, but they actually ended up starting like a local international market in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I was raised. And so just growing up in an environment, like watching my parents like grow this business and like seeing all that, like that really inspired me to do my own thing one day. And like ever since I was little, I was like, dang, that's like one of those like little questions they ask you in like elementary schools. What do you want to be when you grow up? And then I literally wrote down like a boss or something like that. So just watching my parents go through like their journey and just watching that and being like hands-on with the grocery markets and stuff like that, it really inspired me to like wanting to set on my own journey and following in their own entrepreneurial footsteps. And like a lot of my family is kind of like more traditional like immigrant family, like super hardworking and all that. So I just got really inspired to see like my parents come all the way across the country and start their own thing. So
Yeah,
that's what really inspired me at a young age.
yeah, no, that's awesome. So, what do you think made your parents, I guess, be a bit more open to risks? Because obviously both of them came from other parts of the world, and instead of just trying to get any conventional thing, they both seem to want to be starting businesses. Yeah, is there anything that they've told you or anything you've noticed about them that explained why they were very keen on that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think one trait that both of my parents really had was like they always never saw it as like a risk. They saw it as more as like a calculated one. And also they've always had that mindset of having really nothing to lose. When they immigrated here, they just really had just some cash and they didn't really speak English. It was also broken English. They also had that mentality of, we'd rather, risk everything knowing that we tried and then we can always go back to normal jobs. Like my parents were running their like kiosk, like clothing brand at the mall. My mom had two waitress jobs and then my dad was also working part-time as well. And so, yeah, if this doesn't work out, we can always go back to our normal jobs, but we're going to try our best to make this a full-time thing. And I just like watching my parents, just one doing what they love, and then also having that. It's not like a super, I've always been like risk tolerant, but seeing them being like, oh, Jimmy, like if you fail, it's fine. Like at least you've tried your best and you learned. And they always had that mentality. So I guess it stuck with me till this day. Yeah.
That they've given you that mentality, and it reminds me of something I saw where it was about the riskiest thing you can do is if you never try when it comes to things that you really want to accomplish. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I absolutely love that. In terms of the first thing you started, so
Hmm.
what was the very first thing, whether it was at 14 or even beforehand, if it was like something else you tried before you were 14 that was not necessarily business, but can you remember the very first thing you started to try to make some sort of impact or some sort of business?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, 14 was like when I really started to get curious about business and like online. That's when the online boom was happening
Mm,
for like retail. And I stumbled upon like the whole drop shipping thing and trying to grow up an email subscriber and stuff. And so I got really into that. And I did a lot of digging and research before actually like putting like my own allowance into it. Cause like at the time for me, I saved up ever since I was like up until like elementary school, like birthday money and stuff like that.
yeah.
So I just, oh, this is a lot of money. I ended up putting, a few $100s to the side and learning how to build like a Shopify website and stuff. And
Okay.
so, like, literally the first business that I thought was like a good idea, like, and this is all failed businesses prior to my actual like first good one. But my first drop shipping business was actually a dog like toy brand and stuff like that. So like we sold custom dog beds or accessories and all this stuff like that. So I thought it would be really good. And started running some Facebook ads and all this stuff and started seeing a little bit of traction, but like never really blew up or anything like that. So I was like, okay, we're acquiring all these customers, but like we're not making any money like at all. And
Mm,
I tried a different one. Like I tried doing this single product page with a special water bottle that was blowing up at the time. Didn't work out. And I actually ended up, this is probably my weirdest one, is that I thought at the time like camel milk was going to blow up.
right. Okay.
And it was just funny because like I remember seeing it on Facebook and it was just like I was scrolling through the comments, everyone was going crazy about it. So I ended up finding like a distributor and like selling it on Amazon a little bit and all that stuff, but that ended up didn't working out. So you could say like at the start, like I just failed a bunch, and at the end of the day, I had no money in my account, and so I was like, I thought this was gonna be easy, but it turns out this is probably like the hardest thing I could done. So that's my journey from discovering and dabbling into drop shipping and like the online space in general.
Yeah.
So
So I
yeah.
got two questions. What does
Mhm.
camel milk taste like?
Honestly, it literally tastes like regular milk, just like a little
Right.
sweeter, but also a little bit more like heavier consistency, like heavy cream. But
Right.
it's just, I was like, okay, like a lot of people are interested in this. Like, it's like the whole almond milk like
Yeah.
craze that I thought that was going to happen, but
Yeah.
ended up being like a very specific few people that were like interested. So I just ended up being like, okay, we have a few cases left. They're going to expire. Either I have to drink them all or I got to throw them out. So
So you just
that was,
chugged that
yeah.
camel milk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
it was a funny time for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, just with those first three drop shipping type businesses, what would you say was the skill that you used in all of those three that you enjoyed the most? Because obviously you'd have to make the websites for all of them, learn about marketing, and also learn about ads and all that. So, yeah, what skill do you think was the most interesting to you?
I'd probably say the marketing strategy side because I've never really dabbled in that area. Just figuring out like how to convert customers and like how to reach out to them, whether it was like through influencer marketing or emails or paid ads and stuff like that. So like dabbling in all that kind of really helped me get like a really good idea of what it takes to build like a solid online business. And so like regardless if I failed, I did learn a lot about okay, so this is how you're supposed to hook a customer onto a sale or how to reach out to target a specific group of like audience that you're trying to find with your brand and have that resonate with them. Those are like the key findings that I've learned,
Yeah.
regardless if I failed or succeeded.
Yeah. And when you were first like trying out a new thing, were you just watching tutorials online or were there like certain people you looked for guidance?
Yeah, it was great because, the internet's such a great resource. And literally, I learned everything from there. If I had
Yeah.
a problem like how to run an ad or like A B testing, I just look up on YouTube or
Mm,
like a tutorial or how to build a Shopify website. It was just like simple as that. But it just was really cool because I got to dive into a rabbit hole. Because at the time, I was also doing a bunch of sports and school on top of that. So I just come home after put on my headphones and just start like going down this like cool rabbit hole and then just yeah, the internet was like a great place to just for me to learn in general. So yeah.
Are there any videos that really stick out to you, like ones that you've gone back and rewatched a couple times that if someone else is in a similar position to where you were at that time and they wanted to just get started, would you recommend any certain videos?
Dude, it's been so long. Like I remember I think I was like a freshman in high school at the time. Like I think at the time like I don't know like how he's doing now, but his name's Iman Ghazi or something like that. He
Okay.
does tutorials, but I think he switched over. But I remember watching him and a few other guys dabble in like drop shipping and like just
Yeah.
helping build out a framework. But out of everyone, I think that's the only one I can actually like think of the top of my head. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so people
Yeah,
like
that's
him that just posted helped a lot.
yeah, for sure. I'll link him in the show notes. And
Okay,
in
awesome.
terms of just when you first started that, while you were at school, did any of the people around you, whether they just happen to be in your grade or in your like closer circle of friends, were they doing anything similar at the time?
Not really. Honestly, like I felt isolated a little bit just because even people at school, I didn't really talk about it much because I'm a firm
Mhm.
believer of saying it to the world once it's said and done. And so like I was just like doing it as like just like a fun like side project. I never really I just wanted to make, like a cool online business that could be like passively ran and stuff like that. But none of my friends were really into that. Kind of just, into sports and like focusing on school, which is like nothing wrong. It's just like I personally was never a school kid. Like I never did like an honors class in my life or never really like, got like straight A's or anything like that. Like
Mm.
I just was at the time really focusing on sports because at the time my goal was to just play basketball, like collegiate basketball.
Yeah.
So that was like my main focus. But once I like dove into that, I really was like, oh, I like this a lot. But it was like a little shift once I got older. Yeah.
Yeah, so I noticed you said you're a big believer of don't you're not really telling other people until you've actually done it. And
Mhm.
I don't know if this is related, but I was watching a podcast before where Huberman was saying how when you want to do something, if you're telling all these people about it and like everything you're about to do, you're much less likely to do it because you feel productive in telling people what you're going to do instead of actually doing it. Is that part of the reason that you don't tell them, or is there like other reasons that form that sort of belief?
Yeah, that's like the main thing because I realized like yeah, once you tell people before it's even started or done, it just like already releases like these chemicals in your brains and stuff, like thinking that you actually already did it. And also it's just like weird because to me, if I say it to everyone and it doesn't end up happening, it discourages me more. And so that's also it's funny that you mentioned it because I also listened to Dr. Huberman's podcast. Like it's that's the reason why I don't like to like say it out like aloud a
Mm.
lot. It just helps that once like it's done, then I feel like it's comfortable like telling everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Huberman's awesome. And I was wondering before, let's say like before you were 14, when you had those sort of ideas that I want to try this or I want to try that, were there moments where you actually started telling people about it and as a result you didn't do it? Or were there any other barriers where you may have tried to do certain things or had certain ideas, but you never followed it through until that first drop shipping business?
Yeah, so it's just like funny because at the time, like drop shipping was like very common and like all this stuff. It was like relatively new back then. And I was telling like once I like built out the shop and everything, like I showed my friends and all this stuff. And I just remember like showing them like a few like $100 in sales, just like little like hints of it and stuff like that. And they're like, oh my goodness, bro, like this is sick. But when
Mm.
it ended up didn't working out, they were we figured, and it's like nothing wrong. It's just it's true. Building like a sustainable business is like a very hard thing to do. And I realized that at a very young age, which like helped me and just getting feedback from my friends and family as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I wanted to jump to now TCG Stadium. So, what led to you founding that company? And I guess what was the most surprising thing you learned during that time?
Yeah, so this is when it actually like really started to kick off for me and like just in the whole business world. At the time, yeah, I was 17, junior in high school, just starting off. And so at the time COVID was still like very prominent. And so I was doing online classes, but at the time, I don't know if you were keeping up during then, but Pokemon was just exploding like
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
And I grew up loving Pokemon, but I fell out of it once I got older. But I saw like a huge market gap because like I was looking at Reddit posts, I was looking at targets and everything, and there was just like a complete shortage in like supply, but the demand was there. And
Mm.
so it lit that light bulb in my head, and I started doing hours of research of like where to find distributors, wholesalers, like all these suppliers where I could get like these booster boxes or these packs.
Yeah.
And so like after hours of searching, I actually found like three or four. And so I actually reached out to all of them. And the thing is like they were getting like hundreds of applications like weeks like after that. So it was also like I feel like the perfect storm of where like I was able to get into the market before it just got like crazy. After doing it was funny since I was 17, I had to use my parents' business license because I legally couldn't get one. And so I used their stuff to like put it under their corporation temporarily and applied for the like their wholesale program basically.
Yeah.
And I applied to six or eight, but only ended up getting accepted to four. And so once I got into that, the hard part is in this is like in any like wholesale industry, but there's this thing called like allocations. So if
Right.
I put in an order for 60 boxes, depending on how much Pokemon makes, and let's say Pokemon only makes 60 and a bunch of people ordered. So I'll probably maybe get two or three
Right. Okay.
compared to the 60 that I ordered.
Yeah.
So I really saw like the shortage problem. But then this is where like my risk taking came out. So I was like, okay, they're not giving me the product. So I'm going to reach out personally to my sales rep and ask him if we could get like a dinner or a meeting, like just to talk things out. Because it's
Yeah.
just funny because after I met one of my sales rep, his name's John, and I met him in person and he was just baffled that like a 17-year-old kid was just like sitting there. And then I was basically told him like, I'm being like serious to him, and we're not just like any other like online business that's just trying to buy a few. Like we're trying to expand a lot.
Hmm.
And so after getting that like face to face rapport, he ended up actually giving us more product. But like going back to the start, like I had no money essentially. Shout out to my parents because they actually gave me a loan for $5,000 to buy my first set of like products because
Hmm.
like at the time it was super expensive for somebody that never had any money. So I was happy that once we got that like 5,000 in inventory, like we sold out literally in half an hour on
Wow.
eBay.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
that's where I first started. And so I was able to pay them back relatively quickly and then use like the profit that I had to just buy more extra. And
Yeah.
literally it just, the turn rate was like crazy. And so I was like, okay, we're getting a good customer base on eBay. How about like we make our own store? And so
Hmm.
that's when I really learned that like drawing customers in from one channel to another was really important. So after I got like a few like regular customers on eBay, I was able to like build out a website, do all this, and then redirect them over there, which was like really cool. And just seeing that ramp up so quickly and trying to like uh, adapt to that situation was really cool because I've never learned how to pack boxes ever. Like my mom had to teach me like how to like properly make a box and ship it,
Yeah.
like put bubble wraps in there and all this stuff. So this was all happening while I was like in my parents' basement. So it was a really cool start to this journey. So yeah.
Yeah, so I love the part that not only did you reach out to all these wholesalers like straight away after you realized the opportunity, when you realized you couldn't get as much as you wanted, you got that meeting in person. So what do you think has given you the confidence in life to always be able to just reach out to these people that not only you don't know at all, but they obviously wouldn't be expecting someone that 14 years old or 17 years old to be reaching out to them for business. Yeah, what's sort of giving you the confidence to do that?
I guess I don't know. I've always been like relatively good with just like people in general, and I figured that reaching out would never hurt. It like
Mm,
you can always just shoot your shot, and if they don't reply, and I have been ghosted like a bunch of times, like with other companies and wholesalers and stuff. So it never fazed me that fact that it just never went through. So I always try to cast out reels, and if somebody like people like John that, oh yeah, sure, like we can meet, then like it's great. Obviously it's like a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I feel like the harder you try to put yourself out there, like the more opportunities you have. It's like the saying of the harder you try, like it, like luck plays into it, like a lot of
mm.
things fall into place. And so that's what I really believe. So I'm like, I'm just gonna try everything. I'm gonna try this method. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're almost creating your own luck. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. The other thing I wanted to ask about was you mentioned drawing customers from eBay to the website after you realized that you could make a whole website around this. So, what do you think helped you most when you were trying to draw the customers from eBay to your website?
But yeah, it's always like having that personal relationship with the customers because I remember every time they received their order, I would personally sit down, write messages to all of them, and be like, "Hey, this is Jimmy, like founder of blah blah blah. Like I saw you got your package. Did everything come according to plan?" And I always ask, "Did you get any cool cards from it or any pulls?" So just and they'd send like cool pictures of like them pulling like a shiny card or something like that. And after I told them that, because eBay's fees were like outrageous, and I really wanted to give a better price to like my customers just
Hmm.
because since the fee's so high, I had to upcharge it more. So I was like, okay, making a website is a no brainer because it has a lower fee and also we can charge better pricing to all of our customers. And so that's what really made me want to do that. So I told all of my like previous regulars saying, hey, I really appreciate you supporting us at eBay. If you want better pricing and better like service and everything, you can come to our website. It's launching on this date. And I remember once I first launched it, like I just remember like it just got flooded just because like word of mouth and
Yeah.
like some pokey like Reddit or person like just like a thread or something posted about it, and it just really blew up from there because the goal was to just have share like this trading card experience with everyone because I remember it was so hard for people to get it in person because at the time you could go to Target or Best Buy or whatever or any retailer, like you couldn't get it. or else there was like a limit and stuff. We really wanted to just have everyone get it for a good price and have everyone experience like that trading card like rush. So
Yeah.
that's enticed a lot of people to go to our website and purchase from there specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So do you remember the day, or do you remember the most amount of packs that you turned over in one day? And also, like, to go back to the seven figures in sales, was that
Mhm.
like a goal at the very start? Or how did, yeah, just like how was the whole mentality around that?
Yeah, for sure. Like it literally just started out as a side hobby because it was during COVID and I figured I could make some extra like some bucks from it, just nothing much.
Mm,
And I was like planning, I was doing school at the time as well. And reaching that number didn't even cross my mind at all. Like I remember doing like 5K in 1 month and I was like, oh
mm,
my goodness, like this is crazy.
yeah.
And it went from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100. And it just, I never once had like threshold. It always just kept like blowing my mind every time.
Yep.
And so like getting to seven figures was never like the goal. It was just like purely out of just learning how to grow and scale a company sustainably was like what my goal was. Cause once obviously you get like that big of an influx, some people think that it's just let's just blow it up even more. But my goal was to just keep reinvesting it back into the company and just making it sustainable growth instead of taking a big step and like falling into a huge pit or something like that. So that's like my method. But yeah, like going back to your answer or like your question, yeah, seven figures was never the goal at all.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome how it's every single month, like it surprised you and you got to keep building off that and being surprised at how big this was. So I think that's super cool. Taking a bit of a right
Appreciate it.
turn now, I wanted to ask, what's the earliest dream you remember having that stayed with you to this day?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a little bit ago, but like ever since I was a kid, like I said, they used to ask you in school, what do you want to be when you grow up and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And just being my own boss was like my dream because I don't know why, but like at a young age, I really never had the inkling to work for someone else or
Hmm.
have someone like control my own destiny. Because if I was my own boss and the harder I worked, the greater the turnout would have been. And so ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to have my own thing no matter what. And like that's always stuck with me. And so that's why I think I've always tried so hard to like just start my own thing or try to be my own boss. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started your first drop shipping business at 14, would you say that
Mhm.
you felt like your own boss at that time, or was it one of the later businesses where you really felt like, okay, now I now really do feel like I'm my own boss?
Yeah, probably on my later businesses. Like when I first started like drop shipping and stuff like that, it mainly just felt like a side like hustle and
Mm,
stuff like that. But once I got the TCG Stadium, I really learned how to manage a team and reach out to people and do marketing and sponsorships and all that stuff. And that's when I really got to realize, oh, like the harder I work, the more successful the business is. And like I could change my own time and all this stuff. Like if I, for example, if I'm like completely booked for the day, like I'm like, okay, if I'm like tired, then we can reschedule another day and then go back once I'm like feeling better or something. That's when I really got to feel like my own boss and my dream was coming to fruition. So
yeah.
yeah.
Did you have any meetings during like school time sometimes?
Yes, it's funny because at the time I was doing online school, so I'd have like my like school here, and then have my like second monitor, and like I'd hop on a
Yeah.
call with our sales rep and or like the marketing team and all this stuff. And so it was just funny because like it would be like multitasking. And then my senior year, when I came back to school, I remember I was in like my psychology class, and I'd be responding because we had no customer service reps. It would rather like either be me or my other friend that was like working for us part time that was dealing with customer service. So if he's busy, then I had to respond to them, all that stuff.
Mm,
So it was just funny, like watching my teachers been like, Jimmy, like you can do that later. So just focus on the whiteboard or something. So it was a funny time for sure.
yeah. So they knew all about it, your teachers?
But yeah, I guess it just spreaded like rumors because at the time, once I got into senior year that summer, like we just crossed, I think, 2 million in sales.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends at school came over to my house and helped me pack. And
Right.
they told their friends, and it just spread it wildfire.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like really into track at the time. And my coach told me, he like came up to me for my senior year and was like, hey, Jimmy, I really want you to do track. And I was like, hey, coach, I'm sorry. Like I found my passion somewhere else, but I started like a Pokemon business. And then he just
Mm,
laughed at me or chuckled a bit. And then and he was like, no, you can do this. Like you have time. And I was like, no, like coach, like doing school and
yeah.
this at the same time is already like super hectic for me.
Mm,
And when I told him he still didn't believe me. And he was like, no, Jimmy, just come to my office the next day. We'll talk it out. Okay. Like, I really want you to do track. And then I was like, no, coach, like, I'm being serious. Like, this is like the real deal. And then he kept chuckling. So I literally had to pull out the phone and like show him my Shopify sales.
Yeah.
And then he like was just like, he couldn't really say anything. And he was like, wow. So like, you actually did this. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
coach, like if I had time to do track, I promise I would love to run
Yeah.
for you. But like, I really don't have the capacity to do this. And then I guess he told like the faculty and stuff like that. But that's how it started. So yeah, my teachers knew if I was on the computer typing or something, like they knew it was at school. So
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And it's so
mhm.
funny how like he really didn't believe you until you actually showed him. But I'm
Yeah.
sure that moment would have been awesome. In terms of yeah, just in terms of hiring a team and managing a team, how did you go about that? Like, when did you realize you needed like more people part of the team to help you out with this? And yeah, it's just like how was the sort of process around that?
Yeah, for sure. I think as a founder at the beginning, like you're gonna have to do everything. So when I first started, I like did my own packages, I built my own website, I did the social media, I did the emailing. But like it you start to realize like, oh my goodness, like I'm getting burnt out so quickly. And it's like hindering your ability to grow a business. And so that's when like I started to reach out to like my really close friends at the time and was like, hey guys, I'm doing like all these packages at night. Like I'm like staying up till 1 or 2 a.m., like getting these out for the next day. And so like I asked my really close friends and they'd come help and package it all. And then I ended up hiring like a social media manager and doing full like not like full time, but almost full time like Twitch streamer. And they do
Right.
like pack openings live and stuff. But then I started to realize that's when I needed to expand the team when I was just so burnt out. And so that was a good experience to feel that I was like, I really never experienced it before because I always thought like I could do it all. But I figured out very shortly that I'm like, okay, I can't do this. This is making me crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, in terms of just learning how to communicate with the team, making sure everyone's getting along with each other, working well, efficiently, what sort of things did you learn? Did you have any meetings with your entire team, or was it always based on each person's role and you would meet with them separately? How did that sort of work out?
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, most of the people that worked with me were like my close friends and or like acquaintances. And so it was nice that I could also show my friends what like the back ends of the operation is. It when like we had sometimes we had like a huge pre-order and we have almost like 900 packages or orders to fulfill. And so
Yeah.
that's when I really told the guys, I was like, okay, I know you guys have also busy weeks, but I had to like let them know this is like, we got to get these out. And so managing them and talking through with them. And obviously they're my friends, but sometimes I could tell they come in and they're like either slacking off sometimes or maybe they're just not in the right headspace. It was nice that I could notice that and talk with them or see what was going on. And obviously not everyone gets like along in a workplace. And it was good experience to be like the HR person to like
Mm.
also handle all that stuff too. But it was a really good thing. It was a team bonding experience and building like a nice team that trusted each other. And after we did like a huge pre-order date, I'd take the team out to a nice dinner or something and like
Yeah.
do a nice team bonding experience. So it was really nice that I got to learn a lot of like management skills from that as well.
Yeah. And did you keep like any of the cards for yourself, or they're just like from your own interest in it?
But yeah, I definitely like I also liked Pokemon at the time. So like I did end up like buying a few boxes for myself and trying to get some pulls from it.
Yeah.
But just some fun like activities like during work and stuff I like to do with the team. But yeah, it was a cool experience to be able to get it straight from like the wholesale
Yeah.
people and be like, oh, like I have it right here. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in between TCG and Gleam, were there any other new ventures that you tried working on, any side ventures? And if not, like how's the transition from TCG to Gleam?
Yeah, for sure. Right now, like no other side ventures, it's just solely Gleam. But about the transition period, I remember like I started wanting to get into the like CPG space. It was 2 years ago. And so like growing up in like a grocery like store and stuff like that, I was so intrigued of like how these companies like were able to like get it on the shelves and make their own products.
Hmm.
And so of everything, I was really like into health and fitness at the time. And I really wanted to just like try to make a beverage. I don't know why. It's just I was always so into energy drinks. I drank a lot of pre-workout at the time. And I was like, huh, like why not try to make like an energy drink? So while I was running this, I was on the back end trying to develop like a formula, like what kind of caffeine to use, how much milligrams of like vitamin B and all this stuff like that. So it was a really cool process to like see like it all getting made in the process. But then I realized once I was getting more into this beverage thing, I really felt like that was where my passion was, just because it was such like more potential in it. And I really wanted to do like a high growth business
Mm.
because, with Pokemon was great, or like this trading card in general was great, except it just always reached like an end cap,
Mm.
like to like a certain level. And so because I wasn't necessarily making my own product, I was just buying it
Yeah.
from the wholesaler and then selling it back at retail. So there wasn't really much fulfillment in my end. And so I really wanted to make something on my own and my own brand and my own team and really build like a following from scratch. And so I guess like
Yeah.
that what's really intrigued me as like a new challenge. So that's what really helped me transition into Gleem. So yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed, and actually, the thing that was most interesting to me was the Asian inspired flavors, and I actually showed my girl as well, and she thinks like they're awesome as well. So, yeah, how do
Awesome.
you decide on that? And was it more from an angle of like you wanted to differentiate from the existing energy drinks, or is it just out of your own interest in those sort of flavors?
Yeah, like while I was growing up in like the in my parents' like grocery store, like we had a bunch of like name brands, Red Bull, Monster, like just the traditional
Mm.
ones. But then I just really did a big zoom out of the market, and I noticed that there wasn't like any Asian inspired flavored energy drinks in general. And a
Yeah.
lot of them had a lot of artificial like preservatives, colors, and like all these like things that I realized I was like, huh, maybe I shouldn't drink this so often. And just like packed with so much caffeine, I
Yeah.
couldn't get much sleep. So I really wanted to, after seeing that, go through my like cultural background and just trying to bridge the gap between the Asian cultures and the energy drink market. Because I remember some of my friends, like growing up in Nashville, I will say it's not the most diverse place like California or New York. So just being in my parents' store and like growing up with like flavors like lychee or lychee, however you want to pronounce it, or like dragon fruits and like different types of mangoes and all this stuff was like really cool to see. But when I showed my friends and stuff, they were, "What's a lychee?" And I was like, "Oh, like you don't know what that is?"
Yeah.
And so it was cool to see that I was able to like somehow put those flavors into like a better for you energy drink. And so it was just purely the goal to amplify the flavors out there, especially in the energy drink section specifically. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really funny you mentioned that thing about lychees because I swear, like growing up, I just always thought it's such a normal, like, yeah,
Really?
everyone knows this fruit, right? And then, yeah, like after a while, I realized, damn, it seems like only Asians really know about this. So
Yeah.
it was so funny when I first realized not everyone actually knew about it. But yeah, in terms of formulating in a way that is much healthier than other energy drinks, as you said, and getting rid of that caffeine and being able to still boost your energy whilst not like making you feel run down afterwards like other energy drinks do. What sort of research or like development and things did you have to look into to formulate that?
Yeah, for sure. So it was actually funny because at the time I was very into like health and fitness. So I also were like into a lot of like supplements and stuff.
Right.
So it was a really cool, fun process to figure out which ingredients worked and didn't, and like figuring out like the right amount of dosage in each can and stuff. So I did a lot of like comparative analysis, like with other energy drinks to see what they had and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I really wanted to make a drink that had like simple ingredients, but didn't have anything like crazy, like those standard pre-workout energy drinks that have a bunch of like extra stuff in it. So the first thing I really wanted to do was like lower the caffeine because from like typical energy drinks stay around like 200 to 300 milligrams. And so I really wanted to make something that was like gave you enough boost, but wasn't going to make you like super wired or like jittery and stuff.
Mm,
So it was a really cool process to see like how much caffeine and all like these like other nootropics that we have in our drinks, like to find like what dosage works. So it was really cool that I got to learn that myself and got to formulate that myself as well. Like I said, with Gleam, there's only 125 milligrams of caffeine, which is about like a cup of coffee. So it's like nothing like too crazy for you, and it's derived from green tea leaves. So
mm,
it's nothing like synthetic or anything like that. And so we have that mixed with like vitamin V, and then also we also have L-theanine, which also comes from green tea, which is like a mood support. And then we have Panax ginseng powder. Ginseng is also a very good nootropic that a lot of Asian people use, and it helps with focus and clarity. And then we also
yeah.
added vitamin C to help with immunity and stuff. But like I said, nothing crazy, but just a really good drink that you can drink any time of the day, essentially. Because I made the mistake of drinking energy drinks around past 6 p.m. And little did I know I could not go to sleep past 2. And so I was like, I just need something to get me through the day. And
Mm.
I was happy that I was able to formulate this, that where you can, people that are like caffeine sensitive, which I would not recommend people actually drinking, but I will say it is a lot safer than drinking something with 300 milligrams of caffeine and stuff like that. Yeah.
So just for yourself, like personally, when do you drink it? But is it before a certain activity? Do you have a certain schedule in your day where you're like, this is a good time to drink it? Yeah, just curious for yourself, when's the best time?
Yeah, for sure. Like I usually use it as a pre-workout, so I always drink it like in the morning before my workouts. And then I also have a second can during the midday, which I have right here. Yeah, I drink that like around past like the afternoon, just to help me just get a
Mm.
boost to finish out the day. But even if it's on the weekends, and I'm not sure if you play like Valorant or like you play like other video games,
I
but
got mates
yeah.
that play it. Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay,
I
that's
got play. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
So yeah. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually use
Definitely.
that to drink for like late night gaming sessions or something like
Yeah,
that. But I actually
fair
could
enough.
go like to sleep relatively easy instead of being wired on like a bunch of like crazy caffeine and other synthetic like nootropics and stuff.
Yeah. So actually, when you're playing those like online games, and obviously you can like talk to new people if you're ever coming across them, do
Yeah.
you ever mention like, dude, what are you drinking? You could, I don't know, you could like, let's say you smash them, and then you're like, bro,
Yeah.
like you, all you got to do is be drinking some Gleam. That's the secret behind it.
You
I
know,
don't know
I
if you ever,
wish
yeah,
I wish I was good enough to say that, but
yeah,
unfortunately, I'm not like a pro gamer or anything. That gives me ideas though, for sure.
yeah,
So if
yeah,
I
because
just absolutely pop off, I'll be like, it's because of Gleam. I just type in chat or something.
yeah, or maybe you just got to find one. I don't know if you have any of your mates who are really good and just put them on it and tell them to promote it through there. Could be pretty cool because yeah, I
That'd
guess everyone who plays games late at night, like they all have some sort of energy drink, right? So yeah, I wanted to ask about along your journey so far, what's been most fulfilling? It could have been from some of your previous ventures, either the wins or like learnings from certain things that didn't work out, or just by creating Gleam. Like, what do you think has been most fulfilling just on your entrepreneurial journey so far?
Yeah, for sure. I think the most fulfilling part was like finally seeing those cans come off the manufacturer line because I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Gleam was actually in the works for 2 years. So like it was so many different renditions and it wasn't even called Gleam at the time, which was
Right.
funny. It was like I think we went through 12 different names and each of them had like trademark issues or it just didn't sound right or it just didn't end up like working out. But then like after 2 years of just consistent trying to fix things and like trying to figure out manufacturers and all that stuff. Like there were times in that 2 years, like I really wanted to just quit. I was like, I tried,
Mm,
but I'll probably just focus on this TCG Stadium stuff. But then that's how I really knew I like wanted to do it is because I always came back to it and like it always sat there for a bit and then I was like, no, I need to do this. So
yeah.
that's when I really realized I had such a passion for this. So after 2 years, literally this May, I got to see it get canned and go down the line, and I'm like, wow, this is
Yeah.
crazy. I get to drink out of this can instead of some sample bottle from the lab or something like that.
Mm,
Just seeing that was like a very emotional thing too, because I just remember 2 years back, it was just like so many different struggles and stuff. Because like prior to this, I had no knowledge in beverage or CPG in general. Like I just grew up in the retail parts, but I had no idea about like RTDs or any research and development, anything like that. So
yeah.
just like looking back on that, and I was like, wow, like I really never gave up on this, and it's like a real thing, and like my friends can try it, strangers can try it, and it was really fulfilling because like after all that, like people actually like the drink, and so I just knew that it wasn't for nothing, and that a lot of people, it's like helping a lot of people, and also like actually wanting people to try the actual fruits. So like a lot of
Mm,
people are like, oh, is this like this lychee like tastes really good? Like this is a real fruit. And I'm like, yeah, like you can
yeah.
try it. Like you can go to an H Mart or you can go to a local grocery, Asian grocery store, they have it. So it was really cool to see people getting very curious from the flavors in general. It was just a lot of like a wow, like I like finally got it out there. So it was a
Yeah.
really cool experience for sure.
Yeah. Have you come across anyone like a random person drinking Gleam and like whether it's online or in person and what that sort of experience would be like?
Unfortunately, not yet. Like we're relatively new because we launched actually in end of May,
Yeah.
but it's like really cool because so many of my friends here in San Diego are like so supportive, and we actually sponsored the Pinot Org, which is like
Right.
200 plus people for the event. And that's where we actually had Grant come in and do a
All
live
right.
show. It was so funny. We dressed him up in like a janitor costume, and he had a little beanie and a little mask on. And so nobody knew he
Yeah.
was there. It was literally me and a few of the main organizers that were like, that knew about this. And so somebody played like a cover of the song. And then all of a sudden we connected to Grant's mic and he just starts singing. Everybody was like, why does this sound like Grant? And he just takes off the mask and everyone just goes wild. So shout out to UCSD and then Jarens and Melina. They helped. They were the people organizing that whole event. Just like seeing a lot of these students be interested in our brand locally here in San Diego was really cool to see. So yeah.
Yeah, shout out Grent Perez as well. That's so
Yeah,
cool
shout out
doing
to Grant Perez.
the janitor costume. Um,
Right?
yeah, I wanted to ask about your goals for the next year with Gleam. Yeah, what do you want to accomplish with Gleam looking into going into next year?
Yeah, for sure. So our big like goals that are coming up that are in the works right now, we're really looking to launch into retail regionally here in SoCal, just because just we don't want to expand too much and take on things that we can't handle. So I think this next coming year, we really want to focus on expanding into like retailers here in Southern California and hopefully, get like a bigger community. We're launching a college ambassador program. So if there's anyone out there that's in college right now, feel free to check out our college ambassador program. It's really cool. We want to build out like a strong community group like that. And so some really cool things coming up. And then, yeah, that's what we're at right now.
Yeah, how can they get in contact if they want to check out the college ambassador program?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually in our link in the bio on our Instagram. They can just click on the link and then they just fill out a very brief application form and then they'll get in the loop and then we'll reach out to them depending on which school they're at. Yeah. If you're at a UC school, let us know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll include the link in the show notes so people can find that. And yeah, I wanted to ask you two questions now that I ask every guest.
Mhm.
So the first one was, if you had to live your life through the words of one quote, what would it be?
But yeah, there's always this one that like stuck with me. I don't know exactly who quoted it, but it was like, you can't change the winds, but you can adjust your sails. And so I always love to live by that because like starting a business made me realize that like you can make like the most solid plan ever, but at the end of the day, it's never going to go according to plan no matter what. It's almost impossible. And personal life happens and maybe something doesn't, like a deal falls through and stuff like that. But what I realize is that no matter what the situation is or whatever, you can always adjust it to always keep going forward. And so like I don't think I would ever get to this point in my life if I like, didn't have that mentality. Because that's what business is. It's basically just problem solving 24/7. And I just realized so many things go wrong or can go wrong is that you're able to be very adaptable and shift gears very easily to keep going forward, essentially, no matter like how big the gap is. So as long as you're inching forward is like my thing and adjusting whatever goes wrong. So I feel like that's a quote that I always want to live by.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, before we get to the next question, I wanted to ask, what's the craziest thing that's happened that you had to adjust for like super quickly? Is there anything that sticks out?
So nothing on Gleam, but I just remember very like fondly that during TCG Stadium, like I remember that like at the beginning of the stage of TCG Stadium, we first got our big order. So I talked with my sales rep and I was like, okay, so like I ordered 1,200 units. I'm like, so we're gonna get this, right? And he goes, yeah, no problem, you're gonna get them. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I went onto our TCG Stadium website and I put a pre-order for all of our customers. So I like to do like at least 60% of it. So I did 600 units for sale and they all sold out. And so I remember when we were gonna get the product, my sales rep calls me and he was like, "Hey Jimmy, I know you ordered 1,200, but we only have 120 units for you." And I was like, "Oh no!" So we have like all these customers that are waiting on these products, and we did not get the right amount of allocation. I was literally freaking out because if we were to refund it, like it wouldn't bring us to the ground, but it would hurt our reputation the most. And so I very remember like I had to think quick. So like I remember like I was like, okay, we'll take the 120. But then I remember because that was our main distributor. And so I ended up thinking quick on my feet and like reaching out to other distributors that I had in my network. And I just kept scrounging like from so many to try to get that product. And so we ended up getting a little bit more than half of our pre-orders, which was like 300 units. But I did really feel bad that we had to cancel the other ones just because Pokemon literally didn't make enough. And so that's what I was worried about. It was like, oh, no one's going to buy us from again. And this was when we just launched,
Yeah.
basically. And so our first ever pre-order launch completely failed. I remember making like a sincere apology on our Instagram and emailing to our, our email listing and stuff like that. And it was just really nice to see how supportive the community was, because we
Mm.
ended up being not the only one not getting that amount, because apparently it was a lot of shops that just got cut off, with the product a lot. So everybody understood, and it was just thinking quick on our feet to let our customers know, refunding on time and getting the people that ordered at first, like prioritizing them. So just thinking quick on your
Mm.
feet is like very important. But I remember that very specifically, that like my heart just dropped. I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
there goes my business. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think it's awesome how that was the very first the pre-order that you managed to get over that and then start building from there. So
Yeah,
that's
it
super
was.
cool.
Yeah, big trip onto the face, on the, like straight on the pavement. We got
Yeah.
back up and we started running, so we're
Yeah.
good.
Started flying afterwards. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and the final question was, if you could reach everyone in the world for 30 seconds, what would you say?
I'd say, I don't know if this is for everyone, but I just wanted to like, if I had like a big microphone that like reached the world, I really wanted to tell everyone that whatever is like something that you've always wanted to do, just go out and do it. Because I think we talked about this earlier in the podcast. So many people, especially, would have lived with so much regret and stuff. But I'd rather live a life where I actually tried my best, and if I failed, and it doesn't really matter, but at least I got the regret out of the way, and I knew I tried my best. So I want to let everyone know out there that like whatever is on your mind, starting a business, or starting or going out to this new venture, or asking that girl out, or like sending that DM or whatever. Just I wanted to let just, living a life without regret is something that I feel like a lot of people should go for, because you really don't know until you don't try. And so I think that's what I really realized in my business venture specifically. So just I want to let everybody know, if there's something you always wanted to try, go ahead and do it, regardless.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that, man. And yeah, before we finish, is there anything that you wanted to ask me, or any places that you wanted to direct people, ways to check you out, check Gleam out, or anything else? Yeah, just anywhere you want to direct them.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys want to try some of our drinks, we're actually sold online right now. So you can find us on Amazon or on our website. We're going to come out with some sample packs as well. And you can reach us through there. If you're in San Diego or like SoCal, feel free to keep an eye out on some local retailers coming out. But yeah, and also you can follow us at Drink Gleam on Instagram and TikTok. We're pretty active there as well. If you want to find us there, let us know. And then, yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'll put all of those links in the show notes for people to find. And thank you so much for taking the time, Jimmy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Braith. It's such an honor to be on here and speaking with you. And I really appreciate you and Eva like connecting us. So it's been an honor.
Yeah, shout out to Eva, one of
Shout out
our
to
very
Eva and Launch Pop.
yeah, one of our very first guests. So yeah, super cool.